Hi everybody, welcome to this video, the first video in a couple that are coming on the element of water in astrology. Because water is a very complex element, we're going to do several videos on it to cover everything. And we're covering the water element, so that's the signs that belong to the element of water, the water triplicity, which are the three signs that are seen as water signs. And those are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And we also have water planets. As you know, planets are also allocated elements, and our two water planets are seen as the Moon and Neptune. Now, water is generally seen as a feminine, indrawing magnetic energy or element. It pulls inward energy. The moon is definitely a water planet, feminine energy. The moon has always been associated with female and the mother. Okay. But Neptune breaks that rule a bit because it is a water planet, but it is seen as gender non-specific. Just as Mercury is also gender non-specific. It's not, Neptune is not seen as solely a feminine planet necessarily. But it doesn't really matter because, as we know, Neptune is a modern outer planet. It doesn't affect us on a very personal level every day. Now, so before we even look at how water affects people's expression and their personality and all of that, I want you to think about how does water express and how does it function, what does it mean on this planet and in nature. And water is vital for life. In fact, life started in water. Evolution, as we know, it started in water and then it moved out. The life forms moved out of water and began evolving. And even if you look at it as a human being, our life starts in water. We are in an amniotic fluid in the womb, and then we are born. So it's vital for life and for the continuation of life. You can dehydrate a lot quicker and die from lack of water than you will of food. Water encompasses more than 70% or roughly 70% of the Earth's surface. So the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, etc. It makes up 70% of this planet. And the human body is also 70% water. So we're almost like a little mini representation of the planet Earth, macrocosm and the microcosm almost. So the water is also, it's abundant in resources. It contains minerals that are crucial for human life and for the healthy functioning of the planet. It's a universal solvent. Water dissolves many substances, and this process is crucial to how the human body works and how the planet works. Water has the capacity to break down the molecular structure of chemical compounds and absorb those components into itself. And think about how that might express with a person. Okay, we'll get to that later. Hot and warm currents and cold, cooler currents in the ocean help to heat or cool the air on the planet. And so these hot and warm ocean currents and cooler currents have an effect on our global weather system. As we know, our water cycle, okay, the evaporation of water, condensate, forming clouds, you will have learned about it at school, the water cycle, crucial to the functioning of this planet, again. And just as we have to be careful of polluting the water on the Earth's surface, and we have to be careful of polluting our drinking water, and then our own fluids in our body. And the fluids in the human body are dependent totally on water. Without water, a liquid to be there. I mean, if we dehydrated, we need water for our blood system, our vascular system, our lymphatic system. Everything depends on it. So it is, as every element is crucial, the water element is as well. Now, with water, often the top of a surface of water can look very calm and placid. Not always, but it can look very calm and placid, but underneath there's always movement. There's always movement. And even the tides, there's this restlessness, there's this constant movement. Change is a definite, change is certain. It has to happen with water. Even if you leave water, it's to stagnate and in a bowl, it's going to evaporate. It's very hard to keep water under control totally, isn't it? So the top layers of, say, for example, the ocean, it's easier to see what's going on in there. It's lighter, it's more visible. We can study it and we can know what's going on in the upper layers of the ocean. But there are parts of the ocean, the deeper parts of the ocean, the darker parts of the ocean, some of which has not been fully explored. There are life forms and things going on in those deeper parts of the ocean that, or deeper parts of the Scottish lochs and lakes of this world that we are not maybe fully aware of. And as so it is with people who are born in water signs, there can be this element of very complex, very deep, okay, and sometimes even secretive. Sometimes we may never get to know all of it. So there is an element of restlessness with water, this constant change and movement that will happen and is often needed or required or desired by people who are, born under a water sign, or they have a lot of water in their chart. This need for movement and freedom, not only freedom of expression, freedom of movement, sometimes it's even changing places often, but they need stimulation, they need change of scenery, different people, if water is left to stagnate, it goes toxic. All right. So they often have a fear almost, or dislike of confinement. And just think about it as well. When you pour water into a container, it takes the shape of the container, doesn't it? Whatever container you pour water into, it takes the shape of it. So it's almost like a chameleon. It can change form, okay? And it'll quite happily form the shape that you want. And think about that too. How, if it is expressed negatively, not with every water sign, but if it is expressed negatively, a person can conform way too easily to another person or other people or community or families' desires for them. They will just give in and say, okay, well, I'll be what you want me to be. All right. And that is not always healthy. All right. So that is just some of the stuff I want you to think about water. And we're going to go carry on about water because it's a very complex element in part 2.